President Buhari participates in extraordinary China-Africa Summit in solidarity against COVID-19. INEC says deadline for conduct of party primaries for governorship election in Edo is sacrosanct. Lightning electrocutes 3 road safety officers in Ijebu-Ode. Good evening and welcome to Channel 12 News on NTR Belkuta. My name is Adini Tao. Many thanks for being there. Humanity unending need for production and consumption continues to threaten the well-being of natural ecosystems. World Desertification and Drought Day is therefore initiated to create awareness on global effort to preserve land and its resources. Onengiye Fanface reports.
Human population is growing steadily, and with increasing population comes increasing demand for land to produce food, animal feed, and fiber for clothing. In our quest to meet up with these demands, land resources continue to be exploited and degraded at unsustainable levels, causing damage to the ecosystems and biological diversity. Now, over 2 billion hectares of productive land are said to be degraded, while human activities have led to the transformation of over 70% of natural ecosystems. To mitigate these, the United Nations set aside 17th of June every year as World Desertification and Drought Day.
The year's event focuses on the intense human activities and unsustainable method of production and consumption to meet the demand for food, feed, and their impact on the limited land resources.
In Nigeria, the federal government is implementing policies like the planting of 25 million trees to restore degraded forest covers and protect livelihoods of people who depend on the land for survival.
We raise the seedlings, and we also acquire seedlings from other agencies and from organizations. We should have enough to plant the 25 million and even beyond by the grace of God before the end of this year. We are working with the state government. They are giving us a lot of cooperation. Some of them are taking seedlings from us, planting and maintaining those seedlings, even private organizations, schools.
The Great Green Wall project of the Federal Ministry of Environment is also making impact in checking desert encroachment in 11 frontline states of the country.
Particularly in northern Nigeria, where land degradation is so much affecting the socio-economic activities of people. We believe that the more trees we have, the better soil we have, the better agricultural production we have, the better means of livelihood for the people living in those places, because trees and other vegetation protect the soil. It protects infrastructure in the area.
Nigeria, like our counterparts the world over, is promoting public awareness and advancing strong community involvement to achieve land degradation neutrality, which is at the core of the 2020 commemoration of World Desertification and Drought Day. In Abuja, Onengiye Fanface, NT News.
An extraordinary China-Africa Summit on solidarity against COVID-19 is now underway. President Muhammadu Buhari is participating in the high-profile virtual engagement being presided over by the Chinese leader Xi Jinping. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that leaders of African countries, UN Secretary General and the Director General of the World Health Organization are participating online. The meeting is in furtherance of efforts at renewing fraternity between China and Africa, as well as discussing joint response against the coronavirus pandemic. China has consistently attached great importance to the friendly relations of cooperation with Africa, as well as building a closer community of shared future. Since the outbreak of COVID-19, China and Africa have offered assistance to each other and joined hands in fighting the pandemic. Meanwhile, to support current efforts towards curbing the spread of COVID-19 in the country, the Federal Fire Service has donated personal protective equipment to some federal establishments and markets in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Mohammed Adibowale completes the report.
One of the trends among frontline agencies in the fight against COVID-19 is to build solidarity against the virus. This and the knowledge that operatives of such agencies are often exposed to greater risks in the course of discharging their duties informed the donation of personal protective equipment to some federal government establishments and markets in Ogun State by the Federal Fire Service.
The idea has been the initiative of the Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, Dr. Alhaji Liman Ibrahim, that we should do all we can afford to do in our own contribution to.
This gesture, no doubt, is a sign of robust synergy between government agencies to further curb the spread of COVID-19 in their organizations.
It is hoped that if we are all ready to contribute, the government will have less to do.
Obalikpedekuta Market, one of the biggest markets in Abeokuta, also benefited from the gesture. Sadly, it was observed that the market remained unchanged as traders and consumers continue to engage in activities without regard to the contagious COVID-19. Besides being overcrowded, people kept brushing past one another in total violation of the social distancing rule.
You see our people now, they didn't believe this thing still real, but we used to tell them every day that COVID is real.
Washing of hands regularly, medical experts say, is one sure way to avoid contracting and as well stem the spread of the dreaded coronavirus pandemic ravaging the world. With this gesture by the Federal Fire Service, it is hoped that one leg of the battle is being won. In Abeokuta, Mohammed Adebowale, NT News.
Moving away from COVID-19 stories, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu says the 27th of June 2020 deadline for the conduct of party primaries and the 6 p.m. Monday 29 June 2020 deadline for the submission of candidates and their credentials for the Edo governorship election remains sacrosanct and that there will be no extension. The INEC chairman, who gave the advice at an agency consultative meeting on election security this Wednesday, observed that arising from the experience in managing the nomination of candidates for the last two governorship elections in Bayelsa and Kogi states, it is important to draw the attention of political parties to the four mandatory requirements for eligibility of candidates for governorship elections, which are that the candidate must be a Nigerian citizen by birth, the candidate must have attained the age of 35 years, the candidate must be a member of and sponsored by a political party and must be educated up to at least school certificate level or its equivalent. Adherence to these clear constitutional provisions is compulsory in order to avoid unnecessary litigations. While calling on security personnel to be proactive during electioneering campaigns, the INEC boss promised that a draft code of conduct for the security personnel on COVID-19 has been developed and will be out soon. You are still watching Channel 12 News on NTR Abeokuta. We'll take a pause now and come back with more reports. Stay with us.
Glow Stay Home Data Plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Dial *777# to choose a plan. Glow Unlimited.
3 officers of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Ijebu-Ode Unit Command, have been killed by electrocution caused by lightning during a heavy rainfall. Correspondent Joe Popola reports that the Ogun State Sector Commander of the FRSC, who visited the scene of the incident, debunks insinuations that the officers were killed by thunder. His report.
It was like a normal day at the Djibouti command of the Federal Road Safety Corps before tragedy struck. The 4 officers were taking refuge under the tree outside the command's building, waiting for the rain to stop, but were oblivious of the poor electrical connection just under the shed where the officers often gather. Ogun State Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Ahmed Umar, who inspected the scene of the incident, pointed out the poor electrical connection, broken electrical bulbs, among other impacts of the electrical spark. He denied rumors making the rounds on the social media that the officers were killed by the god of thunder.
There was a sort of an illegal connection of wires, so there was this rainstorm and the lightning, which affected the connection because it was an illegal connection that went through a mango tree and then the roof under which they were sitting, which definitely got, electrified, and the wire cut down and fell on them. It was actually 4 of them, but one of them was quickly revived through cardiac massage.
The officer that survived the incident also cleared the air on how the incident occurred.
I just hear a sound, boo. The next thing I could see is that I see our men falling down. Immediately I wanted to stand up, I was unable to stand.
The corpse of the dead officers have been deposited at the state hospital mortuary in Ijebu-Ode. In Ijebu-Ode, Joel Pupola, NTA News.
Now to sport. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 recently reiterated that the country is not ready for the resumption of sporting activities across the country until it is safe to do so. Olumide Gutola takes a look at reasons for the necessary measures for sport to resume in Nigeria.
Our guideline says that large gatherings are banned. I don't see the excitement that will be achieved if we allow sporting activities, particularly soccer like the Premier League, to resume in an empty stadium.
Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, ruled out the return of sports in the country anytime soon. That statement was received with mixed reactions amongst sports stakeholders across the country. Sporting activities had been grounded to a halt for almost 3 months. No social gathering. Stadia across the country had to be closed from fans and athletes, while social distancing demanded. For the PTF, these were painful but necessary measures to protect the athletes and thereby flatten the curve.
There's no need to rush back now. What we need to do as athletes is to begin to keep fit, observe all hygiene protocols.
Without the vaccine being ready, there's no reason for sports activities to start.
The coronavirus has affected the lives of about 7.5 million people around the world and spread across 215 countries. But with the easing of lockdown across Europe, some countries have resumed sporting activities. The German Bundesliga was the first to resume on May 16th, with games played behind closed doors. Players undergo testing twice a week. Sports facilities are disinfected. Everyone not on the pitch wear a face mask. The question now is that can football administrators in Nigeria replicate these stringent measures?
If you look at Europe, they are ready. They have all the strategy in place to check the spread of this. Most of their facilities have gadgets that when you pass through them, you get disinfected.
As the country gradually enters another phase of ease of the lockdown and opening of some essential sectors of the economy, what are the peculiarities in sports that must be addressed?
Sports is also a very, very important sector of Nigeria.
The National Stadium, still under lock and key, a sign that sporting activities yet to resume in the country. But can the sports administrators put measures in place to convince the PTF to give a go-ahead for the resumption of sports like other European countries? Only time will tell. In Lagos, Olumide Guntola, NTA News.
And on the downside, the Ogun State Governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun, has commiserated with the Lagos State government and its people over the death of Senator Adebayo Oshinowo, who died at the age of 64. The governor, in a statement issued by his chief press secretary, Kunle Shomori, said the sudden death of the senator is a personal loss to him, describing the deceased as a committed member and astute administrator. He said though the deceased was an industrious son of Ogun State, representing Lagos East at the National Assembly, he did not limit his service to the state, but was ready to put his political and administrative acumen into use wherever he found himself. He urged the people to take solace in the good legacies left behind by Senator Oshinowo and prayed for the repose of his soul and for God to grant his family the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. And that report concludes our package for tonight. We thank you sincerely for being there. Good night.